Welcome back to another live Wednesday training where every Wednesday I go live talking about mindset, health, wealth, relationships, fatherhood, all the things that are going to help make you a more well-rounded father, husband, and man so that you can go back into your families, back into your communities, not only being the highest version of you, but leading in the home and then leading in your regular life, your work, your family, your community, right? And this week's training, we are getting into the final 5 of this series that I've been talking about the last 5 weeks of how to build a complaint-free relationship. So if you missed any of the last 4 trainings, go back and watch those. These are super imperative, and it's leading up to this big moment that we're talking about, how to actually put it all together and build that blueprint. Last week, we talked about what women need to give their men, what they actually need to give them that they're probably not, but they think what they think men want, but that's not what they want. We're talking about last week, we talked about what they need. So if you're a guy listening right now, go back and have your woman look at that part 4 of 5 training. That's a really good one. If you missed any of the other trainings, just a quick recap. We talked about the 4 stages of a relationship, how and why most couples break up. Like, what is that key factor? We talked about polarity, why opposites attract. We talked about what men need to give their women, not what they think they need. And again, like I just said, we talked about what women need to give men. Now, again, today we're going to put it all together in this new training, building that complaint-free relationship. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Evan. I'm a best-selling author, former first responder, 15 years. I have 2 beautiful kids, 10 and 6. I've been married and with my wife for 15 years. And my story is 10 of those years, I was completely living an unconscious life, didn't know how to be present, manage work-life balance. Our life was a roller coaster. The D word, divorce, was tossed around over and over again. And my wife made an ultimatum to me, and I finally had one last shot to change this. And I did. And I did it in about 3 months, completely transformed my family. And I went back through the process after a year of doing it and said, is there a skill work or framework to doing this? And there is, because father work is a skill and so is marriage. And I was able to put that all together in a system, in a community, in a coaching community that a lot of men work with me. So if you're interested in that community, reach out to me. If you're interested in some of the free or the paid stuff that we do, just reach out. My wife and I also do couples coaching as well. So how do we build this complaint-free relationship? Well, it's not easy because what's good for women is not always good for a man and vice versa, as we know. But let's start it off with an example. If a guy has a bad day and he comes home, but his wife is super cheerful and happy, she can actually sway his mood and make him happy. Because whenever she's happy, he feels appreciated because he tends to automatically take credit for her happiness. I've done this so many times. You flip it though. On the other hand, if they have a really hard day and her husband comes home talking about how happy he is, his exuberance doesn't make her feel any better. I used to come home after being an officer and I would hear my wife complain about the most ridiculous things. And I'm like, you have no idea what people are doing in the world. Your complaints are not real big problems. And I would just think about her complaints and they would crap me out. I'm like, just be grateful. So imagine a scenario where you come home and your wife expresses how she had an awesome day and stayed home with the 2 children, eating organic food and was just blessed by everything you provided. When she says this with a tone of voice that says, I know how hard you work and the life that you've given, I'm so happy and grateful. Thank you. When expressing appreciation to a man, a woman's tone of voice is 90% of the message. Tone of voice reveals one's real feelings. And you guys know this because she can say all the right words, but if she secretly feels resentful, that resentment will come through and you will not feel appreciated. Now imagine the opposite situation. A woman is working hard all day, she's stressed out, and when she comes home, the man tries to express his gratitude for how much he appreciates her. Unfortunately, you guys know this. Her stress does not melt away due to your happiness, right? Like if you ever told her like, babe, thank you so much for working so hard. I was able to stay home and play golf or play tennis and play video games. Your woman is not happy with that at all. She will probably resent you and be pissed off that you were having such a good time. So just remember, guys and women, men and women, we have different primary emotional needs. Men typically need more appreciation, acceptance, and trust from their women. For women, on the other hand, their primary emotional needs are typically being heard, being validated. Her stressful feelings, when she feels validated and loved, it melts her away. It melts that away, right? Giving her a hug, doing something to help her. And you got to be careful, guys, because oftentimes you will get mixed signals from your woman. When she's stressed, no doubt she's going to say, I don't feel appreciated by you. She might even claim, I feel unappreciated. But oftentimes she's going to look for support in the wrong direction. So when she thinks she needs more appreciation, what she's really saying is, I need more caring. I need more understanding. I need more respect. And this is why when a woman is stressed, she'll say things like, you don't appreciate me. And when you do, it still has very little impact. In her mind, even though she asks for appreciation, she will still feel like your words are cheap. She wants action. Action is always the antidote. All right, let's jump into how to put this all together and build that complaint-free relationship. Now, just a quick recap and kind of summarizing our last 4 trainings. A complaint-free relationship doesn't mean that you never complain. It just means that you don't complain about your partner to your partner. The problem with complaining to your wife is she will feel overwhelmed and resentful. And when a woman complains to a man, it makes the man feel like he's being controlled. So in response, he eventually just stops caring and making her happy and gives less. So let's put this into like a real world example, because that's how I like to think. If I complain with my wife, like, you're too busy, you spend too much time with the kids, there's never time for us. I know me saying this is only going to make my wife feel more overwhelmed, because she's already overwhelmed, believing that she's given so much of this family, she has not anything else left to give. But I can convert this complaint into a request. So let's say instead I say, hey, let's plan a date that we can get together. Let's just open up our calendars and let's find some time where we can get together. Another thing I could say is, hey man, I know we've been so busy lately. Like, sometime soon, I want to schedule something fun that we can do together. And bonus points too, a lot of times your woman might even look at you a little miffed by that comment. And you'll be like, what? How am I doing this wrong? Joel just said this would work. Women like to see that leadership and that action point. So even saying like, I've marked off the next 2 Saturdays. Yeah, and I don't know what your woman's schedule is, but like actually planning the day. Like, I've looked ahead. The next 2 Saturdays are free. Let me know which day is, and then I'm going to plan something, right? So she doesn't want to think about it. She just wants you to do it. So if you're going to go to a restaurant, or if you're going to go to a restaurant and a movie, or whatever you're going to do, she doesn't need to be involved in the planning. All you need to know from her is, what day are you available? That's it. I'm planning the rest. I got it taken care of. She doesn't want any input. If your wife is somewhat controlling, and I know sometimes my wife can be that way, what I'll do then is I'll pick like 3 options and I'll be like, hey, these are the 3 things I picked. Which one do you like more? That's another way where you can give her some control if you're a little unsure that what your idea of a good time may like backfire, right? So just a quick recap, right? We've talked about this already, but you want to hit on these 3 big primary female qualities: nurturing, cooperation, and loving. Women can also do the same thing in the relationship, because when a man hears his spouse say, she loves being with you, it motivates the man to be his best versus thinking that he's a failure. Ladies, you're going to want to write this one down. A man's greatest vulnerability is no doubt criticism. Criticism makes him feel like he's being controlled. Even a small complaint or criticism expressed in the wrong tone of voice is kryptonite to a guy. You're always working. You didn't do what I asked. You didn't call me to let me know you were being late. You never plan any dates. You left the lights on in the bathroom. You ate all the cherries in the refrigerator. These complaints, they always hit men the hardest because they attack his competence. And then he becomes defensive. He complains back, or he pushes away, or even worse, he just distances himself and stops caring completely. The irony here too is, the smaller the complaint, the more annoying it is to the guy. Being late to dinner for like 2 hours, like that's understandable. But leaving a light on in the bathroom, I mean, come on. So what tends to happen is, if this cycle continues, and it happened in my marriage too, is the man begins to lose confidence and competence in her presence. And what a man does typically is he finds himself saying, I'm sorry all the time. It just raises his oxytocin, raises his estrogen, which are all female qualities. He becomes feminine. Now, obviously there's a duality and there's positive traits of the divine feminine, but when a male is pushed too much into that side, it lessens his male hormones. It makes him less independent, less confident, less competent. And so all complaining or nagging does, it just makes him do less, not more. So the key is making requests in small increments and then giving big rewards. That is the secret sauce to every relationship. Now, I want to talk a little bit about defensiveness because this comes up a lot. Resentment, I talked about in the last training, and defensiveness. And whether you like it or not, we are human. And so complaints are going to come up, right? We know this. But one of the best techniques that I can give men out there, that when their wife is complaining or making what it feels like to be demands, oftentimes we just stay silent, right? Because we don't know how to respond to that. We start to get angry, we start to shut down, and it's better to not say anything at all, usually, than to be silent. But women, they are often waiting for some friendly response like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll try to be better next time. That kind of wraps up the conversation for them. So she expects this because she wants to be heard by that person, especially if she felt like she was wrong or was disappointed. But for a guy, it activates more of a fight or flight response. Blood flow is now rushing to the extremities of his body. He's preparing for a fight. He's getting ready to explode. So what we typically do is we mull things over. How are we going to respond to this? And usually the guy is so hurt or so angry, he knows it's just better just to stay quiet. The problem with silence, though, it doesn't reassure your woman. And so the best thing a man can do in this situation is just simply say, I hear you. Requiring a man to continue to talk about his feelings, it's only going to interfere with his ability to actually process, actually mull over what you just said. And this increases more stress for him and prevents him from feeling her need, which is what she wants. Totally normal, ladies, for men to brood, to contemplate, to reflect. It's very healthy for them. Women often feel like they need a heartfelt feeling of regret after they've made a complaint. I'm telling you right now, unfortunately, it's unrealistic and it's not productive, and it lowers their testosterone. So for him to consider what she just said without being defensive, he has to temporarily pull away. He has to detach. That's it. Guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope it wraps up our entire series. Next week, we're going to be talking about a completely different topic. Most of the time when we're having these, I want to just tie everything up and just with this last conclusion is this. Most of the time when we're having relationship challenges, it's just because we have unrealistic expectations of our partner or ourselves. Coming back to love will always help you remember how we are different and how we can inspire and how you can be inspired once again to open your heart and love yourself and your partner more. Super, super hard to do when you felt hurt, when you felt slighted, when you felt wrong. No one wants to be the person to raise their hand and say, oh yeah, let me apologize again for the 15th time. It feels ridiculous. But I'm telling you right now, the answer is coming. I'm not saying it's easy. Coming back to love, though, will be the key for you. I know for me, the more I come back to love, it makes it a little easier for others in my life to come back to love too. You want love? Give love. I always say that. It's a gift to everyone. It's a gift to your family. It's a gift to your wife, and it's a gift to your kids if you have them. This is the insight that motivates me to be a better person through letting go of resentment. That is what has helped me transform all of my anger into just like a passing annoyance. Because if I can't find forgiveness, how can I expect anyone else to do it? I hope you guys enjoyed this training. Just make sure you go back through all the 5 trainings if you missed any of them. Learn the secrets that we talk about to building a complaint-free relationship. Also, big announcement, my app, the Limitless Fathers app, is in both Apple and Google Store. Download the free version. I think the paid version is like $7. It includes a communication module. Probably the number one thing I hear in couples is communication issues and breakdowns. It includes access to my community of men, as well as myself. I'm in that community. It includes access to a 3-day course, my Elite Dad Habit Stack. So if you want to learn more about just my community of men, working with me, or just how you could even work more on a one-on-one basis, or if you're a couple looking to fortify your bond and rekindle that love, my wife and I, Nini, we help build unshakable marriages together. Simply comment below or send me a DM. We can set up a time to chat a little bit more. Have a terrific rest of your week, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a blessed week.